I'd like to call this meeting of the Center Region Council of Governments General Forum for February 26, 2024 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next, Scott, would you take the roll?
Mr. Balachandran, Mr. Herndon, here. Mr. Kathab, Ms. Krishnan Kuti, here. Mr. Lipscomb, Mr. Myers,
Present.
Mr. Portney, here. Mr. Bernier,
Here.
Mr. Best is unable to join us. Mr. Frank,
Here.
Ms. Mariner, Ms. Trainer is unable to join us. Mr. Heller, here. Mr. Patterson,
Here.
Ms. Stevens,
Here.
Ms. Strickland,
Here.
Mr. Thompson,
Here.
Mr. Beck, Ms. Hartle, Patty, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Ms. Perkins,
We're going to go with hand signals.
Here.
Mr. Piper, Mr. Cervello,
Here.
Mr. Hammeister, Mr. Hardin, Mr. Lord, Ms. Moriarty,
Here.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Abrams,
Here.
Ms. Hycheski, Mr. Magruder, Ms. Robb,
Here.
and Ms. Whitman.
Here.
Okay. Next on the agenda are public comments. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move to the next agenda item, which is new agenda items. Are there any new agenda items that anybody would like to introduce? Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. There are several items on the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that anyone will want to remove from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I will take a motion for approving of the consent agenda. Mr. Hammeister? Pam, seconds? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, I believe, is Proclamation 2024. Oh, I'm sorry.
Two consent agendas.
Okay, so there's a second consent agenda. Sorry about that. The consent agenda item number 2, Parks and Recreation members, active guide print mail bid award for 2024. I will entertain a motion to approve the second consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second, Betsy. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Now to number 6. Proclamation 2024-1, recognizing February as Black History Month in the Center Region, with an introduction by Mr. Evan Myers.
Yeah, thanks. I was asked to go up to the podium, so I will do that. And Mr. Patterson from Ferguson Township is going to join me. So thanks for the Mr. Chairman, thanks for the opportunity to present this. It's interesting. I recently read a book titled Half American, and it details the sacrifices and contributions of Black Americans in our nation's fight against fascism in World War II. It's an important read not because of the heroism of Black Americans was greater than other groups, but because that contribution was marginalized and mostly ignored for decades after the war. History was rewritten, and Black Americans were left out of that conflict, just as the contributions of Black Americans have been left out of much of American history. So tonight I present this resolution to honor Black History Month because we are a nation of many. Our nation's motto is E pluribus unum, out of many, one. But we cannot be that one if we do not recognize the contribution, the history, of all those that make us the one we strive to be. As the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said in his I Have a Dream speech, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. We cannot live out that creed, that true meaning, without recognizing and celebrating the true history of the Black experience in America and the contribution of Black folk. So I present this resolution not out of guilt or shame, but out of hope and pride that, as Dr. King said, that all of us will be able to join hands and live out that creed written in the Declaration of Independence, that all of us are created equal, that we are endowed with certain unalienable rights, and among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, Mr. Patterson will read the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. And the proclamation reads, whereas each February we observe Black History Month in communities across the United States. Black History Month is an opportunity to learn about and celebrate the defining achievements and contributions of African Americans to our nation's economic, cultural, spiritual, scientific, legal, and political development. We honor the central role of African Americans have played in our history, and whereas we pay tribute to the many generations whose birthright of freedom and dignity and the earned wealth produced by their hard toil, creativity, and intellect was brutally and wrongfully stolen from them. We honor those countless people who nevertheless persisted through unimaginable cruelty and adversity justified by racial falsehoods to enable a more just and equitable future. The struggle to bring the reality of our nation into alignment with the inspiring ideals and ideas on which it was founded continues today. And whereas Black History Month grew out of the work of Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History in 1926. And whereas each year Black History Month is given a theme. The theme for 2024 is African Americans and the Arts, and explores how African American art is infused with African, Caribbean, and the Black American lived experiences in the fields of visual and performing arts, literature, fashion, folklore, language, film, music, architecture, culinary, and other forms of cultural expression. The African American influence has been paramount. African American artists have used art to preserve history and community memory, as well as for empowerment. Artistic and cultural movements such as the New Negro, Black arts, Black Renaissance, hip-hop, and Afrofuturism have been led by people of African descent and set the standard for popular trends around the world. Whereas we recognize and commend the invaluable contributions of African Americans that have shaped our center region communities, we honor local individuals, our neighbors, friends, and colleagues, and groups who have enriched all of our lives in so many important and wonderful ways, and continue to move us towards the ideals of fairness, justice, and equity. And whereas in the communities across the center region, together, we continue our work to create a welcoming, inclusive, and engaged community where diversity is cherished and celebrated. Now, therefore, in recognition of African Americans past and present, in this our center region, the Center Region Council of Governments General Forum hereby proclaims February 2024 to be Black History Month and encourages all residents to celebrate our diverse heritage and culture and to continue efforts to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and prosperous for all.
Mr. Chairman, do we need to, we need to vote on this? Is that, okay, so before I present the proclamation, we need to do that. So I would like to move that we accept this proclamation.
And this Omar, I second that motion.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, signify by saying aye if you approve. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I have the proclamation here, anticipating that, and I wanted to introduce Mr. Gary Abdullah, who was a member and past chair, is a member and past chair of the State College Racial Equity Advisory Committee, to accept this and make a couple of remarks.
Thank you so much. Should I just go talk?
Floor is yours.
All right. I'm thrilled to receive this, but let me stick with my remarks before I get carried away. We offer our sincere thanks to the members of the Center Region Council of Governments for this proclamation. It's an honor to receive this on behalf of the region's African American population, and humbling to hear the reflections on the significance of people of color in our nation and our community. We in particular celebrate the Center Region Council of Governments' enthusiastic involvement in this relatively new process for us all. An annual acknowledgement of Black History Month is something that has only occurred in our area about 2 or 3 times. I want to again cite the contributions of Leslie Lang, who is in Washington, D.C., I think right now, at yet another Black History Month event. She's the visionary who has really led the pulling together of much of the proclamation initiative that you've seen going on. Having this expanding gesture of support is an important step in helping people of color to feel seen in Happy Valley. And the addition of COG to this year's process definitely conveys a progression, an impetus to expand and grow into the future of the Center Region. Acknowledgement of our history can cause us to look forward, acknowledge of our history can tend to cause us to look to the past, and I hope we can keep an equal focus on looking forward to the future, and to see this event as part of a larger process of moving from just acknowledging diversity in our community toward fostering more inclusion and belonging in the Center Region. Please see tonight's proclamation as one of several initiatives operating simultaneously to nurture cultural celebrations and increase tourism to our area. The effort that you've expended to produce this proclamation is an investment in the future of a burgeoning Center Region. It's seeds planted to shift our region's image from Pennsylvania to one that reflects the keystone state of today and tomorrow. Again, there are already active initiatives at work in our community, and we thank you for your contribution. Your acknowledgement of the diversity in Pennsylvania's past will pay off in prosperity and security in our future. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for this. Do we want to do any more?
Ready for the announcement? Okay. Number 7 on the agenda is Proclamation 2024-2, recognizing the Lunar New Year in the Center Region. And I'll invite Pam to come up. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and members of the COG. For a general forum, to all my colleagues, it is my honor tonight to ask for your recognition and your approval. I'm going to be introducing the Lunar New Year Recognition Proclamation. The Lunar New Year is also the Spring Festival. It's also the Year of the Dragon. It's also a year that we have to take and look at ourselves. I noticed that during this last year, the attacks on Asian Americans, it's not who we are as Americans. As I know my colleagues who are military, my veterans, we didn't fight for people to be attacked on our homeland. It's a place for all, and people forget that. So I stand here tonight honored to present this proclamation, and I'm going to let my other colleague have a moment. Dr. Nali Krishnakudi, who is a friend, a colleague who's fought to these kind of proclamations to all our municipalities and to our region. So without further ado, I'm going to give her the opportunity to have a moment to speak.
Thank you so much, Pam. I just want to thank, Executive Director Eric Norenberg, the COG Executive Committee, and especially Patton Township Board of Supervisors Chair Pamela Robb, and State College Borough Council President Evan Myers. This is a special moment because we're all coming together, in COG. So all the regions coming together to declare this. Lunar New Year was not something that I celebrated in India, and I learned of it actually first when I came to the United States as a graduate student. A lot of my colleagues who later became friends were from Southeast Asia, East Asia. And today sometimes I'm as busy on Lunar New Year Day as on Diwali because I get to connect to all these friends and family, neighbors, wishing them as they celebrate. But I want to tell you that the first Lunar New Year proclamation that I was part of happened 4 years ago, and it happened because a high school student from State College Area School District reached out to Judge Hahn and myself when we were serving on the Governor's Council Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs. She wanted to have red lanterns on Allen Street. She had come from a big city that celebrated Lunar New Year, but she asked us a bit late, not thinking about the logistics of getting those. And so wanting to really acknowledge this student's idea of making this her home, I worked with Kevin Kassab and Mayor Filippilli, and in 2021 we got the first Lunar New Year proclamation passed in our region. Since then, we've come to many places, and every municipality, every township has made it feel like home. Today, I recently read that 2 billion individuals around the world celebrated Lunar New Year in 2024, and amongst them are more than 20 million Asian Americans and Asians celebrating it in the United States. Some of them, of course, are recent immigrants, but some are 8th or 10th generation Americans descended from Asians who came here as early as 1500s on Spanish ships from the Philippines. So I just want to, underscore that I'm just so happy that we're doing this in COG, because by proclaiming Lunar New Year in Center County, we are honoring not just an APIDA holiday, not just an Asian Pacific Islander, Desi American holiday, but a Center County holiday practiced by thousands of our residents. So I want to say thank you, even as I wish everyone who is celebrating this holiday a happy, very best in the Year of the Dragon. Thank you.
And now my colleague, my mentor, Board of Supervisor Betsy Whitman, will read the proclamation.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking me to participate in this. I am not Asian, but I am proud to say that I am the mother of 2 Chinese daughters who we adopted from China. We have been celebrating Chinese New Year's ever since. I guess I didn't give it much of a second thought in terms of extending it community-wide and the importance of that until speaking with Nalini and others in a community diversity group with whom I've now become quite active, and realizing that what we say And what we recognize publicly does make a huge difference. So while I have been recognizing Chinese New Year's since 1994 and enjoying with my daughters each new year and each new animal that is represented by that new year, I am proud to be a part of making this formal. And I actually do want to start by saying something that in our family we not only celebrated Chinese New Year's, but we celebrate Christmas, Thanksgiving, we celebrate birthdays, and we celebrate Happy Adoption Day. And my youngest daughter's Happy Adoption Day happened to be December 27th. And then, of course, then Chinese New Year's follows soon after that. And in our house, birthdays were quite a thing, and also many of the other holidays. And so after one of her Happy Adoption Days, she came bouncing down the hall at 3 years old, and she said, "Mom, when is the next holiday with me in it?" So I said, "Well, we have Chinese New Year's coming up." So as long as it had her in it, it meant a lot. So I feel like this has all of us in it. Whereas Lunar New Year is an important holiday and time of joy and renewal for many Asian communities around the world and for Americans of Asian origin, including those of Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, Tibetan, Mongolian, Singaporean, Malaysian, and Filipino descent. Traditions across all cultures are varied, but all focus on celebrating and strengthening family and community bonds. And whereas the Lunar New Year, also known as Spring Festival, is based on the lunar calendar, which includes the Chinese zodiac, or Sheng Xiao, a repeating 12-year cycle of animal signs and their ascribed attributes. And whereas, though the animal signs can vary across cultures, the Lunar New Year marks the transition from one animal to the next, with February 9th, 2024 ending the year of the rabbit, and February 10th, 2004 starting the year of the dragon. The dragon is the fifth of the 12 zodiac animal signs, and those born in the year of the dragon are often seen as courageous and intelligent and displaying tenacity, enthusiasm, and confidence. And whereas Centre County greatly benefits from the creativity, enterprise skills, and diverse heritage of our Asian Pacific Desi Americans, the APIDA residents, some of whom are new immigrants, while others are first, second, or even fifth generation Americans. And whereas over 10,000 Asian Pacific Desi Americans, APIDA residents live, work, and play across Centre County communities, 10,000, contributing to our economy and enriching the ethnic and social fabric of our community with multiple languages, cultures, and religious beliefs. The Centre County region greatly benefits from the creativity, enterprise skills, and diverse heritage of our residents. And whereas, like all major holidays around the globe, the Lunar New Year honors the eternal bond of respect, honor, and love for family, community, and country, and unites families over generations. And whereas, like all major holidays around the globe, the Lunar New Year honors, whereas those celebrating Lunar New Year are our beloved friends and family, our cherished neighbors, and valued members of the Centre Region community. Now, therefore be it resolved, the Centre Region Council of Governments General Forum does hereby proclaim February 10th, 2004 as Lunar New Year in the Centre Region, and wishes everyone celebrating the holiday a happy Lunar New Year. We encourage everyone to join in the spirit of celebration and reaffirm our community's commitment to family, diversity, mutual respect, and creating an inclusive environment of belonging for all of our residents. Thank you. And I think some other people.
Honorable Chair, if it's the pleasure of this forum, can we get a vote to approve the proclamation?
We have a motion.
Patty, motion to approve.
Do I get a second? Patty? I'm sorry.
Mr. Marks, second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Yes.
You have two from Ferguson.
I'll second.
Sorry. We have a second for Patton Township.
Okay.
We can't have
Okay, I got
the
you.
same in this.
I couldn't hear very well there. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All right. Any discussion at all? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Guys have it unanimously.
Thank
Thank
you. To present, I would like to present this proclamation to members of the Pan Pita Circle, who will say a few words.
I think they have comments for you too.
Thank you. Who was it?
Am I going first?
We thank the General Forum for their time as we go through this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hoike Chang. I go by Grace. During the years, my 34, 35 years of stay in State College, I have been a resident of College Township, State College Borough, and currently Ferguson Township for the last 17 to 18 years. So as a member of Panapita Circle and a Chinese person in the Central Region community, I want to thank Council of Governments to acknowledge Lunar New Year. Panapita Circle formed in 2021 to elevate Pita voices and experiences. And I would like to share some of my experiences of staying in State College. I'm so proud to be part of the State College community because I see the changes of this place, how far it's come through in terms of accepting and welcoming diverse culture. When I first came here as a grad student to Penn State, that was 1989. The very first day, I walked into my department with full excitement, ready to start my study in the United States. And that day, I was told by my peer to get out of this place and go back to my country. Very first day. And then, like, sometime, and during that time, when I was walking down on the street, I was asked to perform Bruce Lee Kung Fu. And that was like, I guess that was a very limited thing that they knew about Chinese culture. And then fast forward to sometime 12 or 13 years ago, a student of mine from my Chinese class, she was asked by her neighbor. She said, the person asked her, is your Chinese teacher wearing long ponytail like what we see in movies? That was 12 or 13 years ago. And then, look at this. Now, we are all standing here celebrating a diverse culture and acknowledge Lunar New Year. Your acknowledgement of this cultural event means a lot, really, really a lot to us. What you're doing today tells us that you're willing to open your arms to welcome the group of people who observe Lunar New Year. And you acknowledge the values and contribution of these people in this community. And not only are you're willing to do so, this proclamation is telling people in this Central Region people to do the same. And I can't thank you enough. Thank you. And some little fun facts about this Year of Dragon. Year of Dragon, usually in Chinese culture, is baby boomer year because it's dragon. Dragon is the symbol for emperors, only emperors can wear dragon on their clothing. So to be born in the year of dragon, that means a lot. So it's a baby boomer year. So, and it's just beginning of this dragon year. So if anyone here wants to make a dragon baby, you still have time.
I think we have one more speaker that has a short statement. Thank you. And thank you, Forum. I know we have a long agenda, but this means a lot to our community.
I'm Ju-Yeon Ri. I am teaching at Penn State, teaching about Korean literature and film and popular culture. I teach about BTS, Blackpink, and this K-pop owes a lot to American music, in particular African American music. And I teach this interaction with Asia and America in classroom. So I'll talk a little bit about just my everyday interaction with the students in my class and on campus. And I observed that there's an increasing awareness of importance of recognizing cultural diversities and heritages of people from Asia on campus. And I see a gradual increase of enrollments in courses offered in Asian Studies department. I must emphasize that having majors and minors in 3 Asian languages, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean, and now we're expanding to Hindi and South Asian studies, this development is unprecedented because we don't see this kind of development in, not in many other states. We are now seeing a really diverse body of students interacting in classroom, on campus, and this campus attracts a lot of students from all over the world, and our students going all over the place, and this direct and indirect exchange and interaction is really, really important for mutual recognition and understanding. So celebrating the Lunar New Year in State College is especially meaningful for all of us. And thank you so much for recognizing this special day. And I would like to just add, as a member of Pan Apida Circle, I would like to inform you about the second Apida Festival, which will be held on April 20th from 3 to 8 p.m. with an Asian marketplace theme. We'll be on Martin Luther King Plaza and Fraser Street in downtown State College. This is a partnership between Penn State Apida Caucus, Community Group Penn Apida Circle, and State College Borough. And we will have performances, food, and other vendors, and organization participating. We are thankful for all the support last year and are looking for participation from community this year. So I hope you please save the date and join us that day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I thank all my colleagues, because I know this was long, but this really means everything to our communities. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is CNET presentation by Cindy Hahn of CNET.
This works. Let's all say a prayer. This works. Start us off. My name is Cynthia Hahn. I'm the executive director of CNET. I came this evening because it is, of course, the early in the first quarter of a year after a municipal election year. And so there are some new elected officials. And as you all know, I generally come to your individual municipalities sometime in the spring or early summer. But I wanted to come to today to the COG to give some really basic information about CNET that I hope will be of value to you, that is of course different than the individual municipal information that I'll give you in the spring. First of all, very important, I want to acknowledge we have 3 CNET Board of Directors members in the room this evening, and I do want to acknowledge them. Evan Myers is Vice Chair of the CNET Board of Directors, and we have Pamela Robb, who represents Patton Township, and Eric Norenberg, who represents the COG. So I want to just acknowledge them and tell you, like with most nonprofits, the dedication and commitment and direction of the board is very, very important to the organization's functioning. So CNET is a 501c3 nonprofit, and that is something that is a little bit of a confusion to some people because we're so involved in local government. Often we're thought to be an arm of the COG or an entity of the county, but that really is not true, of course. We are a 501c3 nonprofit and not under the government, not under the control or the management of any other government entity. Membership in CNET is open to, and I won't read that list of sort of kinds of organizations there. I want to note that bullet 4, county or regional authorities, is a rather new development that was actually suggested by former COG Director Jim Steff. And since authorities were added to the bylaws to be eligible for membership, we've had quite a few join, and so that was a very successful suggestion on the part of Mr. Steff. Oh, now I have to go back. Uh-oh. There we go. So just a little bit of history. CNET was formed as the result of a cable television task force that was organized back in 1985. The Articles of Incorporation were signed in 1987, and bulletin board messages started airing in 1988. And I wanted to just include this clip from the Center Daily Times back probably in 87 or 88, where CNET vowed not to be boring. So I consider that, you know, all of you have that responsibility to keep it from being boring. So why are we unique? This is really important, I think, to understand, and I think you all should be very proud of this. The vast majority of government and educational access organizations like CNET are actually managed and funded by a single entity, one municipality, one school district. Sometimes they're the department of a county government or a school district, and they usually serve only one entity. Now, there are exceptions to this. You can look around and you can find PEG organizations that serve, you know, 2 or maybe 3 municipalities, but I have never found any other PEG organization that has 17 members, which cooperatively fund it and support it. And so it's a very special organization, and the format, the structure, the foundation of it is very, very special and speaks to really the cooperation of a lot of people in the county and the region. Cable franchises, really briefly, there's no more boring subject than cable franchises, but they are contracts between municipalities and cable companies. And the idea is, if the cable company is going to run their cables and their fiber under your public rights of way, they should be giving something back to the public, to the municipality. And so mostly what they give back is money. So your municipalities all receive from Comcast 5% of everything Comcast earns within your municipality. There is a new company coming to town, Shentel, which most of you now have franchises with, and you will begin receiving that same 5% of Shentel revenue once they begin to have a customer base. These cable companies are also required in the franchises to make capital contributions to CNET. And so right now, none of our member organizations are contributing a dime of capital funding. So your member dues are all operating. Our capital money comes from the cable companies. Another important point. One other thing to keep in mind is that franchises are only about cable. They are not at all about internet. So when we talk about when you have people who may come to your municipality and have questions about internet and why isn't it faster and where are the providers, cable franchises mean nothing when it comes to internet by federal law. Our funding, of course, we are funded by the 17 member organizations, which you can read there for yourself. By the way, I have pictures of the various chairs on these slides, and I thought about how to organize this. I was going to do it alphabetically, but I thought really, I decided what to do was to organize them in order of how much they pay us. So we started with Evan, and we're working down here, just in case you wondered what the reasoning behind that was. So we have the school districts. I mentioned authorities before. Our newest member is CATA. We have Center Region Parks and Rec, the Borough Water Authority, UAJA, and then, of course, SCLO Library, and also Penn State University. So the funding formula is, in a nutshell, it's based on usage. If a municipality sponsors 10% of our programming over a 5-year period of time, the following year, their dues are going to be approximately 10% of our operating budget. It's not a perfect formula, but that is basically how it works in a nutshell. So there is a rolling 5-year average so that municipalities and school districts, if they need to, can increase their programming if they have a particularly contentious year without facing the possibility of their dues doubling in the very next year. So it keeps the financial contribution stable while allowing for additional programming should you need it. Microphones are not magic. I wanted to just touch on this a little bit. If your microphone is what we call a gooseneck, like that one there in the center of the middle table, be very sure that it is pointing towards your mouth as close as possible and that it is turned on. And if your microphone instead is that little 6-sided hexagon there, make sure that you're not leaning too far back so that it can pick you up and that there are no papers or miscellaneous debris on top of the microphones. Really, really important. That concludes my presentation. I know I went really fast, and I'll be happy to take questions, but I know a lot of you know a lot about the organization. It was just mostly a refresher.
Any questions?
The
Danny?
5% revenue, gross revenue, is that on the basic cable package, or is that on the expanded, exploded package that some of us have?
It is really on everything.
Everything,
As far as I know, and Adam Broombaugh may correct me if I am wrong, but my understanding is really it is virtually all cable services. Now it's only cable, so we get into a little bit of a confusion when we have bundled services. But pretty much, if you have a cable bill, all those items are contributing to that 5% that's coming to your municipality.
It used to be just the 5% of the basic package.
I think that has changed. Okay. In fact, I think that is one of the things that the attorneys often go back and forth about, essentially figuring out what exactly is going to be included in that 5%.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Okay, next on the agenda is is there a university report? No university report. State College Area School District. Is there a State College Area School District report? None. Okay, Whitehall Road Regional Park Project Coordination Team Report. Mr. Frank.
Yes, Mr. Chair, as reported at the last meeting, we're kind of in a hiatus with the weather. This week looks very promising. The big things that have occurred since our last meeting is we've achieved some resolution with the fencing, sport fencing vendor, and that work will be progressing as soon as the weather cooperates. But most of the remaining items are weather dependent. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Executive Director's Report, Mr. Norenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have the monthly activity report that's in your packet. I would be happy to answer any questions that are in that report if you have any about any of those items. And we have a number of the agency directors here tonight that can help answer questions that I can't. But if there are no questions on that report, we have a presentation by our fire director, Sean Kaufman.
Thank you.
Thank you. The pager just went off, so I don't even know what I'm supposed to be running out for, but if I do, that's what it's all about. But anyhow, thank you for the opportunity to give an annual report. For those that know that I really just completed my first year, I had 8 months as interim fire director and then the last few as the fire director. So in 2022, I didn't have the opportunity to kind of get above water and get you a report for 2022. So this is my first annual report. Hopefully you like the format. And if you get an opportunity to look at it and you have more questions, I certainly can come to any of the municipalities and do a more in-depth presentation. So I wanted to just make that offer for you. It's pretty important that you understand what the fire protection program is all about. It's a combination fire and rescue department. It consists of the volunteers of the Alpha Fire Company, the Center Region Office of Emergency Management, the Center Region Fire Marshal's Office, the Center Region Hazardous Materials Response Team. So there's a bunch of different arms to our program, but it's a mostly volunteer department that relies heavily on that professionalism of our volunteers, and I'm dedicating this report to the volunteers of the Alpha Fire Company. So when we look at our responses, and I'll show you a trend line here in just a minute, we outdid ourselves again this year. We had 1,425 incidents, topped last year's number of 1,386. Not something that we want to continue to do, but the trends in our region are our incident numbers are going to go up. We service the College, Ferguson, Patton Townships, as well as State College Borough, Penn State properties that are throughout our service area, as well as the main campus of Penn State University. We also have some automatic aid that goes to Half Moon Township and Harris Township. And I'll just show you in this chart how our incidents have trended up. So if you look at the last 10 years, you know, it's a pretty steady trend, and then there's a big dip in there, and we all know that was COVID. Okay, so our community basically became a ghost town for that period during COVID, and we were trending down a little bit right before that. I'm not sure exactly why, but then we exploded back up again. So the numbers, like I said, 1,425 was our incidents for last year. This is incident by municipality or area. That first number is mutual aid. That's when we go outside our jurisdiction. Harris Township, we responded 20 times. Half Moon, well, last year only twice. Sometimes we go there, 6, 8 times. Last year was only twice. You can see the bulk of our calls are in State College Borough, and you'll see that based on the type of calls and why we spend most of our time in the borough. This chart's pretty busy, and again, you got to kind of look at it. It's in your packet. It's also on the website, so you can drill down into this if you want to, take a look at the total number of calls. I also have this. Well, I'll point out the last line there. There's a section of College Township that we actually provide funds to the Boalsburg Fire Company to provide service for. They're much closer. It's that area of College Township over in Oak Hall. Swings up through the where the State College Middle School is on Brandywine, and out through where Geisinger Medical Center is on Scenery Drive. So that section of College Township that they're closer to, we have an agreement with them for providing primary service. Those incident types, I'm going to run real quickly through them, but the first category was fire and investigations, everything from, say, a house or building fire to a dumpster fire. So anything that's on fire gets categorized in that first lump. Any kind of EMS or rescue call, if we go out to assist on a car accident with injuries or somebody's trapped in a car or we're assisting the ambulance, or maybe doing an elevator rescue or classified in the EMS rescue numbers. Hazardous conditions, those might be large or small spills of some type of chemical, maybe gasoline at one of the convenience stores, that type of thing. And it also encompasses all the trees and wires down calls we get. So if a storm rolls through, we may be out busy chasing wires down, arcing wires, that type of thing. That's in the hazardous conditions. Service calls are those non-emergency type assists when we're usually helping either another fire department out by covering their station while they're busy on something, or maybe we're assisting the police department with some type of cleanup or other type of things that are going on. And then obviously our events on Penn State campus surrounding football are in that category. Good intent calls, and if you go back to the chart, you'll see good intents are a large number of our calls. I'm just going to show you real quickly down there. 31% are good intent calls. So, hold on, I'm getting interrupted. Let me go back here real quick. Good intent calls are any kind of fire alarms that are caused by odors or steam. Basically, if the fire alarm worked properly and we were called, but there was not really a fire there, somebody burned some toast or something like that, we call that a good intent call. Versus the next section, which is the false alarm number, which is basically the system malfunctioned or there's something going on in that property that shouldn't have been that caused the alarm to go off. So if you think about it, in a fraternity house, they're having a big party and they put down the smoke machine and the smoke machine fills up the place with smoke and it goes up and sets off a fire alarm, that'd be a false alarm, okay? Versus if somebody burns some toast, sets off the fire alarm, it did its job properly, so we call that a good intent call. So there's just different ways we categorize it so we know what's truly a false alarm. And then when we look at that pie chart, you can see that between the false alarms and the good intent calls, that's over 62, that's 62% of our incidents. That's a lot of our work in the community is those type of incidents. And we call them, nuisance alarms, those type of things sometimes, but basically somebody's calling us for service. When we get there, we weren't really needed to do anything to put out a fire. That's just a little bit of leadership structure. It's really small, hard to look at, but basically the Alpha Fire Company has a fire chief and 2 assistants, and then I have 2 assistant chiefs and a vacant assistant chief spot and a captain that work under me, as well as the emergency management coordinator. Those that haven't had the opportunity to meet Jonathan, you will in the future, hopefully. So in 2023, that was a vacant position, but we filled that just at the beginning of this year. And then there's also a deputy emergency management coordinator. And then if you have opportunity to come in the office, you can meet Carolyn. She's the office manager. She's kind of the glue that keeps that all together. And then our staffing, like I said, we're heavily reliant on the Alpha Fire Company volunteers. Last year, at the beginning of the year, our numbers were down around 80. We increased that to about 95. We usually run between 90 and 100 volunteers at any given year. It does fluctuate a little bit here and there. But usually we can keep a pretty good volunteer force of between 80 and 100 people, depending on graduations and how big classes are that come in. This year we put 23 new volunteers on, so it was a great year to bring on new volunteers. So we started out 2024 with a lot. I want to point out on there that, and I'll show you this in the trend line, our shift hours increased 11,260 over the 2022 number. A shift hour is basically anybody who puts 4 more hours together and stays at a fire station to be able to staff. So our volunteers did over 11,000 more than what they did the year before. So this is the number that they put out. 74,000 plus hours of staffing. So these are people that are coming into the firehouse and either staying for a 4-hour period, maybe during the day. Most of their shifts are 8 to 12 hours, and they're overnights or weekends. So a lot of hours. I'll put that number went up quite a bit this year because we had started a new incentive program to incentivize our volunteers to be there on weekends. We didn't have a program that kind of set that apart. So through the monies that you provide through for us in the COG budget, we provide a stipend to the volunteers. And we incentivize that weekend shift through a little bit more incentive, more stipend, for them to be there, to give up their weekends, basically, right? And so that helped increase the number of staffing hours. Training and certifications, we had almost 9,000 hours of training in 2023. We also had 60 staff and volunteers obtain new certifications. but we already had 65 firefighter 1 certificates, 33 firefighter 2, 34 hazmat operations levels, and then our fire police, they can also be certified, and we had 9 of those people that are certified in traffic management. So why is this certification important? It's not just training that we put them through, but when they get certified, they take a written exam and they take a practical test. So when they're done with that training and they get a certificate or certification, we know that they're meeting the national standard for that particular certification. And we have that from everything from people that can do trench rescues or rope rescues to just basic firefighting. And that's the training hours from the year before. Just like we increased the shift hours, our training hours also went up. Again, that's why I've dedicated this report to the Alpha Volunteers. They put a lot of hours in. This just shows some of the certifications that I mentioned. And this is some of the training that we do. Everything from the top left, which is live fire training, that's all our basic fire training. The people on the top left, they're in the tower truck. They're using a saw to cut open a vent hole. You can see all that smoke. That's real smoke. That's not training smoke. So they're wearing their self-contained breathing apparatus, and they've learned how to cut that hole, and we're basically checking them off on that. The people on the bottom left, that was an urban search and rescue training that we did in cooperation with the South Central Mountain Task Force this year. Those 11 individuals worked through the whole day of basically, we took the structure and we set it up as if there was actually a structural collapse, and they drilled through concrete and lifted things and rescued victims out of that building all day long for that training. The training in the bottom right, specialized training, where they actually have that little COG, you can see it there, the gear. We actually stuck a mannequin's hand in there, and they're actually working through to get that hand out of that simulated accident. And then I didn't have a picture of the fire police putting out their signage and so forth, so I just put their truck in the top right corner. But they do a lot of training as well with learning how to direct traffic patterns and make the scene safe. So our fire marshal's unit, we did 18 investigations last year. 2 of those were in Harris Township. We put on a new assistant fire marshal that you ratified last month, the Patton Township police officer. We had a significant fire loss last year. Again, based on the total number of incidents we had almost $3 million of fire loss. We had some significant fires in the region last year. Not out of the ordinary, but just happened to be a year that we had more than usual. You can see the difference between the property and the contents, and those are all unprofessional estimates of loss. So basically we have a chart and we base it on the square footage and values of properties, and that's how we get those losses. So you can see there's fire loss trends, pretty flat between the 21 and 22, but the incident numbers are different. So we had 11 in 21, but not a lot of loss. We only had 6 in 22, significant amount of loss because it was the same as the year before with 11, but last year we had 18 investigations and that larger amount of loss. These are just a couple of the fires. Sorry. So I've been talking too long. Sorry about that. So we had 18 training sessions for our hazmat team, and we had 6 incidents for that. Our biggest one was on Penn State campus. We had a hydrochloric acid spill. We had 45 pub ed programs with 119 contact hours. That's our open house. So what's it cost? Basically, again, it's trending upward, but it's a $2.4 million operation.
That's just the COG budget. It doesn't include the fire company or the relief association. And this is what I'm kind of proud of. I wish I could talk so I could actually talk about it. But we had 3 incidents where we recognized people last year. The bigger picture was a fire in Harris Township where the Harris Township Board of Supervisors recognized our engine crew. And then the 3 ladies in the top left were on the Oak Ridge fire. First time we had 3 females on the tack line. And then the crew on the bottom left was an engine crew that assisted on a fatal pedestrian accident up on Park Avenue. Sorry, I can't talk any longer, but that keeps me from answering any questions, right?
Are there any questions? Any questions? Thank you, Sean.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, moving on to authority board and committee reports. Executive committee. Anything to report?
I have nothing further to add than what was in the report.
Okay. Finance committee.
Nothing to add to.
What's in the agenda, pending any questions, Mr. Chair?
Okay, thank you. Human resources committee, do we have a report? Okay. Parks Capital Committee, did not meet, okay. Public Safety Committee.
We meet tomorrow, and I hope Sean is better by then.
He's drinking his water, so. And Facilities Committee, Mr. Bernier.
Mr. Chair, nothing beyond what's included in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Land Use and Community Infrastructure Committee, Mr. Hammeister. Thank you. And Climate Action Sustainability Committee, Ms. Whitman.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation Governance Special Committee.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we met after last general forum, and the information in the agenda properly covers what we discussed.
Thank you. SCLO Center Region Library Board.
Did not meet.
Did not meet. Thank you. Center Region Parks and Recreation Authority. Any report? Okay. Emergency Management Council. Any report on here?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to other business. Anything you want to point out there, Eric?
Just matter of record H on page 12. Want to acknowledge, I know we've talked about the difficulty we've had in recruiting planners, and I know that's something that's affecting municipalities across the country and certainly in this area, but matter of record H indicates that our new planning director is trying something creative. We've now advertised a senior planner or land use planner as an either or. We'll fill one position, but we're trying to cast a wider net in hopes that we might get somebody coming in as a planner that can grow and develop with the organization, be mentored by Mike Tilka, the new planning director, and hopes that we can grow some of our own talent in the organization. So we're hoping that creates better results now. So just want to thank Mike for that initiative, and we'd be happy to answer any questions, or hopefully we'll keep you posted with news of a hire in the next couple of months.
Okay. Well, that leaves us, I think. Do we have anything else to add? Okay. Then it leads me to item number 18. Anybody want to make a motion for adjournment? Second? Okay.